The title of this video is a lie. Kind of. Nahida is one of the strongest characters in the entirety of Genshin Impact, but no character in Genshin Impact is a must pull. Why? Well, there's only one form of endgame content, and you can complete it completely free to play, even if it's painful. Which is why most players just pull for whoever's hot, and I really hope that isn't your reason for getting Nahida. But there's a reason players call Nahida a must-pull unit. The same reason they call Kazuha and Yelan must-pulls. Not because you're doomed if you don't get them, but because they massively enhance your account and open up tons of avenues to enjoy Genshin Impact in a different way. And that's what this video is about. Today, I want to explain to you why Nahida is called a must-pull and what makes her so valuable so that you can make educated decisions on if she's a character that you want to pull for. My name is Braxophone, and let's get into it. Nahida's release actually completely altered the state of Genshin Impact's meta. Like in other gacha games, a lot of the time, support characters are king. One strong support can completely change the game. When Dendro released in 3.0, there was a lack of Dendro characters, and it was pretty tough to actually explore what's good with Dendro because even the best Dendro characters weren't really good at Dendro. You had Dendro MC, who was unironically the best Dendro utility in 3.0. You had Kale, who was too sick to have a reasonable Dendro application, and Tighnari, who's on mute until further notice. All of these characters did something unique. Dendro MC made the Dendro archetype of teams actually viable, Kale could be an elegy for the end user, and Tighnari made you less likely to get Chi-Chi. Naturally, with a limited roster of Dendro characters, it would be extremely difficult to thoroughly test the limits of Dendro. Now, that's not to say that it was bad at release though, because Hyperbloom to Abyss is like Exodia to Seto Kaiba.
Exodia! Obliterate!
It also buffed Hydro units because they totally needed it, and made Toma a relevant character. Dendro also buffed Electro units, which I'm pretty sure made Kuching mains really happy. Dendro as an element made Genshin feel more complete, and it certainly opened up the door for people to enjoy a new version of combat. You know what else opens up doors for players to enjoy combat in different ways? My YouTube channel. We're almost to 150k subs, and if you want to help out and be a part of that and learn about Genshin Impact, make sure to subscribe. Now, historically, the main character has always been a sort of budget version of the Archon characters, and so far, all of the Archons have had supportive capabilities. Venti can give enemies a good suck, Raiden can refill your energy bar, and Zhongli throws rocks. Traveler has a tornado for Anemo, lightning strikes and battery for Electro, and lastly, rock throwing for Geo. Dendro MC has decent Dendro application and some effects based on who's in your party composition. Naturally, that means that Nahida would have insanely good application, and we were right. What makes Nahida insanely powerful at the most basic of levels is that she has a 25-second Dendro application on her elemental skill. It ticks up to once every 2.5 seconds, but it applies an above average amount of Dendro for that time, and to make things even better, she marks enemies. It's not an area you have to keep enemies in, it's anyone she takes a picture of. Just think about that for a second. You literally could knock enemies as far away as possible and they're still able to take that damage. All you have to do is set your mouse DPI to 12,000, give her a spin, and watch everyone take Dendro damage. Now, the Dendro application isn't free. You have to trigger an elemental reaction, or enemies have to be hit by Dendro cores, but that's not really a problem, since your teams with Nahida are going to be focused on reactions anyways. And all you have to do is hit one enemy for it to chain react on all of the other enemies and apply Dendro to them. She also generates a decent amount of Dendro particles when her skill activates sometimes, making her a partial battery as well. Nahida brings the convenience of Raiden's Electro hitting elemental skill to Dendro, meaning that you can get more Dendro cores, more Hyperblooms, Burgeons, Burning, though this one is a little bit harder to use, and regular blooms. And on a roster that initially only had 3 Dendro characters who were just alright at their job, Nahida was a breath of fresh air. But Dendro application actually isn't even the only reason she's good. Oh no, she does a lot more than that. Nahida has a 50 cost burst that will bring a ton of extra value to your teams. It creates a giant AoE that buffs Nahida and potentially other characters on your team. When you have a Pyro character, her elemental skill gets a damage bonus. When you have an Electro character, her skill can be triggered more frequently. And with Hydro, she gets her burst time extended. These are all individual buffs and there is a limit to how many you can get at a time, but all of them are helpful in some way. What makes her burst actually good though is her first passive, which is going to share a ton of elemental mastery with your active character. Nahida takes the character with the highest elemental mastery on your team and gives the active character 25% of that up to a maximum of 250 elemental mastery. That's literally more potential than adding another EM Sans on top of your normal setup. Listen, there's characters that can increase your elemental mastery. You have Sucrose, you have Hazel, you have Nilou, and more, and they're all awesome. And Albedo. But Nahida's elemental mastery share is on another level. The fact that Dendro reactions all scale so hard on elemental mastery and that Nahida is played in those teams means they've created the perfectly overpowered passive for you to gain value. And for the record, there are also weapons you can use to buff EM too, but Nahida's EM buff is a lot, and most players don't have the premium 5-star weapons that give a ton of EM. Between enabling Hyper Bloom to become one of the highest damage ceilings in the game, making Burgeon viable, enabling Nilou to become a monster in AoE, and buffing Electro alongside increasing your team's general power level, it's understandable how this Radish could be one of the best characters in the game. Surely that's the entire reason why Nahida is good. No, wait, she has more going for her than insane Dendro application with high uptime, battery, and massive team buffs, right? Do you remember when Yoimiya released and people were calling her bad? Actually, to be honest, it's still happening. I can't believe it. How could you hate this ball of sunshine? Anyways, I promise this is relevant. Nobody was calling Nahida bad at release or anything like that. Everyone knew how strong she was. But in Yoimiya's case, a lot of people felt like Hu Tao better, so Yoimiya bad. The logic really just depends on your perspective, but what almost every single person overlooks with Yoimiya is that she's incredibly easy to play. Truly reminiscent of her character. She is head empty and so are you. Literally, this is what optimal Yoimiya gameplay looks like. You literally don't have to think at all. She's so easy. And that also applies to Nahida and makes Nahida good too. She's casual friendly. You don't really have to put in any work or thinking to play her. I'm not going to tell you optimal rotations don't exist, because they do, and there are better ways to play her than being head empty. But even if you are head empty like me, she gets an absurdly high amount of value, and her damage is actually pretty decent on top of that. You don't even really have to invest a ton into Nahida to make her worth bringing along in any team, but if you do invest in her, you'll actually get solid damage out of her elemental skill as well. No matter your game knowledge, skill, progression, or herb lore level on RuneScape, Nahida is one of the best characters you could ask for. You don't have to pull for her, but when players say Nahida is a must pull, what they mean is that she's busted. The best Dendro unit that can hold a weapon like Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers to giga buff your team if necessary, share an ungodly amount of elemental mastery, apply ridiculous amounts of Dendro, generate energy particles, all while you sit back and watch the newest episode of ReZero Season 3. If you never want to put in effort again in Genshin Impact, pull for Nahida, because button mashing just works now. I hope you enjoyed this video. I actually have a Nilou video I'm really excited to release soon, so subscribe if you want to see that or any Honkai Star Rail related content in the future. Thanks everyone, good luck with your Nahida pulls, and tell me what you love about Nahida yourself. I'll see you guys later on Twitch.